Good evening and welcome to the Monday, June 5th, 2023 meeting of the school committee. I would like to call the meeting to order at this time. And the first item before we get into the Pledge of Allegiance that is listed here is the reorganization for the school committee. We did not elect a vice chair at the last meeting because we had felt like we wanted to have a full committee to do so. And I am going to propose that we hold off on selecting a permanent vice chair, but that perhaps in the interim we implement just what had been the status quo, so that in the event that there's something that would require a vice chair, that we make a motion to have Amanda fill the gap until such time that we have made a decision as a committee for the entire year.
I move that we have Amanda fill the gap until we're all together.
Great, thank you. So motion by Sue, second by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I didn't ask if that was okay with you.
That's
Okay. Just in the event that, who knows what's going to happen. So at this time, I would ask for people who are here, which actually is just at the table here, to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I do not see anybody here for public comment, so I will move into recognitions. Do people have recognitions that they would like to make tonight?
I would like to recognize the high school administration, Mr. Bishop, Mrs. Tice, Mr. Pominville, and Kylie Murray, as well as all of the staff who contributed to graduation, all of the faculty who attended, and even our, K-8 faculty who still come back or pre-K-8 faculty and attend graduation to support our kids. This year, the faculty numbers were fabulous, so it was nice to see them, and they did a beautiful job. They did.
I would agree with that. I also want to commend them on pivoting that on such a quick thing.
Yes.
and being able to look ahead to realize that they were not going to be able to do the outdoor graduation and to set up safely for it to be indoor. So
Yes.
that was, I know, disappointing for many that it wasn't going to be able to be held outdoors, but definitely the right call as it turned out.
Sure was.
Okay, then that moves us. Are there any other recognitions before I move? Okay.
I think it's a great thing when the kids decorate their caps with the college they're attending. I found that the most thrilling part of trying to see where are they going, and being from Pittsburgh, seeing students who are going to Carnegie Mellon and Pitt and some of the other schools that are handy to where I live. I thought that was wonderful.
Great. It is fun. Some of them are very creative in the way they do it, too. All right, so that moves us then into the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. So this is the superintendent's report for June 5th, 2023. I want to make sure everyone is aware that our last day of school is June 21st, and this will be the last meeting we have before the close of school. So earlier in the year, we had a conversation about the change in 37H and 3/4, which is Mass General Law that involves discipline. And we talked about wondering whether or not the change in 37H and 3/4, as well as the restorative justice training that we were doing in our schools, would lower our numbers. And so I thought it might be interesting to show you the incident counts historically. And so when people say, well, what might incidents of discipline be? I mean, they can be anything from violation of school rules, disruption in a classroom, fighting, insubordination, profanity, harassment, bullying, drugs or alcohol. Any of those things all land into these incidents. So this is not particular to bullying or harassment. As we take a look at our reporting, these are all of the incidents that were recorded across 5 schools this year, and then they get sent off to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So I think what's interesting is if you take a look at a year when we also had 41, that was the year that we went remote on March 10th. The year that we had 18, which is our historical low, was also the year that we were in the hybrid model. Kids came to school every other day. Hardly anyone was riding a school bus, and I think we do have lots of discipline issues on school buses, and our kids were seated 6 feet socially distanced apart. So there's no surprise that that is a low number. The year of our full return, it felt like kids were often a little dysregulated because they hadn't had sort of typical school for a long time. And you know that there were kids who were home quarantining that year, the building principals and the teachers would probably tell you that was about the worst year that we had, just because of all the coming and going of kids. And so this year our current count is at 43, and these right here are the numbers where no discipline was imposed, and so then it will tell you the percentage of that. Lots of times, places where no discipline was imposed happens at the Marathon School, because we really take an educational look when our kids are like 5 and 6 years old. But I thought that this data was kind of interesting, and I was really pleased to see just how low the incident count has been for this year.
Dr. Kavanaugh, do you have any point of view on 2017-18?
I don't really know why it was so high in that year.
It's interesting.
In discipline refers to specific types of discipline, not all.
Yes,
Discipline.
things that we report on, there are categories, things that we report on. But, as I had said, it could be anything from, profanity, insubordination.
But I'm sorry, in terms of discipline, I mean like Saturday school versus suspension versus detention versus, do you know what I mean?
Yes, any of those things would be, would be a discipline that we imposed.
Right. So it's not differentiating between those things, it's just saying
That is
discipline
correct,
was
yes,
imposed.
yes.
I'm not sure I fully understand the impact of 37 3/4, but that's okay. I'm really happy to see, I'm not surprised at the 75 in our transition back year. And I'm really glad to see the numbers come down. I have to say the feel at graduation and the spirit among the students and the faculty this year reflects just a healthier, emotionally, mentally healthier environment. I think we're all sort of starting to heal a little bit, which is great.
And perhaps having had that time of stress like that, to fully understand and feel what it means to be in that group again and have a cohort.
Yeah.
When it says 11 without discipline, oh, that's percentage, I'm sorry.
Percentage, yes.
Dr. Kavanaugh, when was that restorative process implemented?
So did we start last summer?
Last summer. So I'm curious to see what, projecting into the future here, curious to see what next year's data is going to look like. If this 43 is because we're just kind of getting back into the groove of being in school again, if that will continue, or if this is a sort of a one-off, and we need to continue and redouble down on those restorative justice efforts. So
Yeah, so over the
curious.
summer, we did train all of the middle school and high school, like sort of select staff and administration. And then in the opening days of school, they kind of went in and did a lot of the restorative circle practices so that it kind of found its way to the faculty. But through the school year, Carla Burley, who is our director of social emotional learning, had sort of offerings. Any teacher in the district could sign up, and you could be paid at the curriculum rate to attend, and that would have happened during some school vacation weeks. So there were even teachers giving up sort of kind of their own vacation time to do that. And the remuneration rates are very low for that. I mean, we're only paying you about $33 an hour to be there.
yeah, I'm curious if that will trickle down and become more of the cultural norm within
Yes.
within the system.
We do something called PBIS too, which is a positive behavior system. And I think that really now kind of has its legs. When we first, I think in my graduation speech, I talked about at Marathon, the kids believe in, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of our building. But that really is, that's the mantra. And the kids are very good about understanding because it's so simplistic and they hear it over and over and over again. So I think those kinds of things, and we're doing that now, K to 5.
Yeah, I think the more that we see it, the more it becomes codified in what the students do on a routine basis.
Yes. Yeah, those numbers feel good.
Yeah.
All right, then just a very quick Elmwood School project update. And I know that some of this feels repetitive to you, but I think it always bears repeating that the Elmwood project really is an end of life project, and that's how, when you submit your statement of interest to the MSBA, that's how they invite you in. I mean, they know that Hopkinton clearly has an increased enrollment issue, but it's end of life that I think gets us into the queue. There is a need at the Elmwood School, if it were a 2-3 school, to accommodate up to 775 students. That's the prediction. If it's a 2-4 school, it's 1,175 students. The estimated percent of reimbursement is about 25%. So there are people in town who will go on to the MSBA website and say, oh my gosh, it says that we should get 40% back, but there are some things in the process that are not reimbursable. So for example, if people were just tuning into the ESBC 2 meeting, we had a very long conversation about traffic on Hayden Rose Street and how we would set up crosswalks and traffic lights and sidewalks and all of that, and what would that cost? That would not be reimbursable by the MSBA. But certainly your cafeteria is, for example. So if the project does cost $170 million, and that's that kind of ballpark number that has been thrown out there, we don't really know yet what the cost is. One of the other things that we learned tonight, or was repeated tonight at that meeting, is that the pricing, so you'll have two people who are estimators, estimator firms who have a lot of experience in this work, and they'll give us two different prices for the proposed school. And then when you get those prices, you still have a little bit of time to make some tweaks and shave some costs if that's what you want. That will come to us in August. But what we should remember is that at 25%, the reimbursement to the town is $42.5 million. So that's a lot of money. If it were 30%, we'd be talking about $51 million. So the percentage is clearly an important number. And the school is slated to open somewhere around December of 2027. If we were on a really aggressive timeline, it would be great if you could open in September. If you have to do a mid-year entry, there are schools all over the state that do it.
Central School was open mid-year like that. They closed it over the winter break in 1928, I guess.
Isn't that funny? All right, and this is just the demographers piece. I like to show that every once in a while. And again, it would be 775 for grades 2 and 3, and today we're at 635 there, so we're about 140 students off, and we have many years to get ourselves to a place where we're fully at the 775. And for grades 2 to 4, at the 1175, today we're at 976, so we're at about 199 students away from meeting that target. And while it feels like those are big numbers or the distance is far, we need to remember that in 7 years we've had 800 students join us. So. All right, so if we are looking at that differential of 140 students, and we typically say we put about 22 or 23 kids in a second and third grade classroom, the need would be for 6 additional classrooms. There are no additional classrooms available to anyone at the Elmwood School right now. So, in the event that something went awry, I don't know what would happen to those 140 kids, but it would really be, challenging to be able to place them in that school. But we also have to remember that the cafeteria, the gymnasium, outdoor spaces, even bathrooms would not be able to accommodate the numbers of faculty and students that we would need to put into the Elmwood School if for some reason it just remained that 2-3 school and we didn't move forward with this project. We have successfully hired 4 new administrators in the Hopkinton Public Schools. We have a new athletic director, Ricky Andrade, and he is the assistant athletic director currently in the Needham Public Schools, and he will be joining us on July 1. The Elmwood principal is David Broninger, and he is currently a building principal in the Canton Public Schools in an elementary school, and I think he's held that position for 9 years. So we are lucky to be getting a veteran principal with that much experience coming to us. In Hopkins, Matt Cotter, who is currently our assistant principal at Hopkins, he will assume the role of building principal at Hopkins. We will be working in the next couple of weeks to replace him as the assistant principal. And then we do have a signed contract with our new student services director, Abby Hanscom. She is currently the student services director in the Westwood Public Schools and has held that position for 12 years. So I am really proud of the hiring that we've done. It feels like we've put people in there who are very highly qualified and eager to work here in Hopkinton. That's just my shout out again to graduation. John Cardillo was gracious enough, and the Hopkinton Independent was as well, to lend us this photograph for tonight. But again, just thanks to Mr. Bishop, Mr. Pomonville, Ms. Tice, Ms. Murray, the Hopkinton High School faculty and staff, and all of the other faculty in the district, and wishing the class of 2023 the very best. Thought that was a beautiful picture. Thought it really captured the event. And that's all I have for you.
Questions? Comments? Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That brings us then into the school committee chair report. Payroll warrant S23023 and S23024 have been approved. Warrants 23-062, 23-063, 23-064, 23-065, and 23-066 have been approved. So that's all I have on that. Yes.
Operating warrant 23064, operating and other funds. What does that cover?
Okay, I don't have that in front of me right now. Susan, do you have it?
Let me bring up, typically when it says other funds, it means that we paid something out of school lunch or the bus fee revolving, but I'd have to pull up that warrant in particular
Okay.
and see, those are considered other funds.
Okay. So these are all things that have already been spent, and they are things like lunches and all that kind of stuff.
If we are to buy something for the cafeteria, like new cafeteria tables, I'm using this as a for instance without
Yeah.
going into
Okay.
that specific warrant. That's considered other funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. So liaison reports is the next piece. I know we haven't determined kind of what the new liaison roles are, but I don't know, Amanda, if you had anything.
I am currently missing a Sustainable Green Committee meeting happening right now, so I know they're paying close attention to the Elmwood School project. I don't have an update on that. Nothing else.
So I did have from Holly that just a reminder that the Pride Parade is this coming Sunday. I know in the past we have done that as a school committee. We can organize offline if people want to participate in that. The route is a little different this year, which is exciting because it's brought it off of our school campus and into the town. So that is exciting to me. Yeah. I had one, LPAC had a virtual meeting last week, which was well attended, and they also selected new officers for the next year. CPAC has a meeting, end of year dinner and a meeting tomorrow night, which we are all invited to. I know there are more than 3 of us who have committed to going, so it is posted as a meeting, and it is an exciting piece of our work moving forward with CPAC, I think. The other piece is the elementary school building committee did just meet just prior to our meeting here, and it really, this is the first time that I have been able to sit in on that in person as part of the committee. Really was struck by how week to week they're coming back with ways in which they can maintain true to what the educational plan is, but finding ways to be more efficient, finding ways to change the angle of, for example, one of the things I said tonight was changing the angle of the stage that's in the cafeteria, and how that little shift changes the amount of area that's being done and actually is a significant reduction in cost. So that, and then the traffic study was a big piece that we were reviewing, and that actually is going to be a big part of Wednesday evening's virtual community forum, and that I'm hoping will get lots of people interested to come and voice their opinion, ask questions. Because it's virtual, there is also the opportunity for people who don't want to be on camera, if they want to put their questions in the chat box, they can do that, and it will also be covered by HCAM. So that's all I have for that. The next piece is the school committee meeting schedule, and just, we had held off on this last time because we wanted to make sure that we could incorporate everybody's schedules. I did have a little bit of feedback just from Holly in terms of her availability is pretty high. Looking at, do you guys have the one from the packet that Georgette had included in that? So the other piece we had discussed, but is not, we have discussed on and off, is doing over the summer, if people would prefer or not, if people don't prefer, doing meetings on a Saturday or during a day, even during the week we could do it, that would be a longer meeting in lieu of evening meetings. I don't know what people's availability is.
I mean, just to
Yeah.
give context to the longer meeting, when I started a few years ago, we sort of had that practice, and it gives an opportunity to work on sort of internal administration, like our goals, our values, you know, kind of aligning with the district goals if we want to, you know, sort of get into more some not even training, but almost professional development or organizational development amongst ourselves with the superintendent. Having a little bit more time that's not at night is kind of nice because you can go in with a clear mind and really get ready for the year. So I like it. You know, I would need some advance warning just so I can get some time off of work unless we do it on a weekend. But I would be a proponent of a workshop, like a half day or something, as one of our meetings. I think that we could. There's a lot coming up this year that we can plan to address, and that we could use that time wisely, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think with enough advanced notice, that's certainly a viable option. I like the idea of being able to get together and really get a lot of focus work done to move this process forward. You know, again, for me, it would be just the advanced notice piece because we're as a college, I'm off for the summer, so it's just a matter of kind of not putting in extracurricular activities for myself.
So looking, you know, I think in the immediate sense, we want to look at at least the next couple of meetings. And am I right? We have one scheduled because June is not on here for June 25th. Is that accurate? Do you have the?
Yeah.
Let me look at what Georgette has put on the. Oh, actually, that's my bad. It says June 15th. So we do have another meeting before the end of. That is what's listed on the agenda. Is the next meeting is for June.
It's funny, I don't have it on my calendar.
In my head, I was thinking, well, June 25th wouldn't make sense. I think that's going with the first and third would be where the 15th is coming up. Does the 15th work for people, just in terms of scheduling?
Yes, we're sorry. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep that then.
Okay.
And then do we anticipate that we would need any additional time at the very end of the month for approving end of year balance type things? Is that
Transfers
and things? Is the 15th too far from the close of the fiscal year? Are we gonna need something closer, or is the 15th okay and then we can go into July?
Yeah, Susan, I think that's a question for you.
Yeah, you're talking about June 15th or
Yes,
July?
June 15th.
June 15th is probably too soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of what would be the most ideal kind of is as close as we can get it to the 30th?
So the actual close for the fiscal year end, even though it's June 30th, you can make transactions up until July 15th.
Oh, okay, so it's okay then if we meet on June 15th, that's not gonna throw off what you need from us, and then we meet again in July before the,
Correct.
okay. It does feel like a large gap between June 15th and July 6th, but I feel like there are things that we should take care of sooner rather than later here in terms of having a full committee meeting and.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, in general, I really liked the calendar Georgette put together with the 1st and 3rd. You know, I think that sometimes we do like every other week, and sometimes it's 1st and 3rd,
Right.
but I like the 1st and 3rd.
I like the 1st and 3rd, and then as needed, if we need, like during particular times of year, budget being one,
Yeah.
if we need to add in additional meetings, we can just determine at that point which date we need to add in. Is that
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 1st and 3rd? Okay, so then,
it's like April we'll need another meeting. There's only one 1st and 3rd
yes, because of vacation.
Yeah.
or we shift to throwing in either, it looks like the 25th could be thrown in.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can leave that. I think, unless people know for sure, I mean, I think the 25th makes the most sense, because if we meet on the 4th, the 11th is really too soon.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of leaving the rest of the month open would be more ideal. Does that work?
So then you would end up with 2 meetings back to back.
So
Yeah.
yes, we would, because then we'd go into May and we'd have it May 2nd. The alternative, we could switch both of, well, then it gets into switching a lot. I think that's okay, though.
Do we need to have a meeting on the 2nd if annual town meeting would be the 6th and the 7th?
We might.
We might,
never know.
because we don't have, it depends on how much business we have
Sure.
that we're not going to get done then. It does get to be awful busy with town meeting. That's really, I like the optimism up front that it's going to be a 2-day town meeting and not 3.
In November, we'll have the special town meeting.
Right, that,
Did you think it was like maybe the 20th?
so I would think there's going to be a special town meeting and then a ballot. Well, we don't need to schedule the ballot, but do you know about when special town meeting is going to be?
I don't think they
gotten a date.
have
Okay.
that date
All
yet,
right,
but
so
I
we can
do
add that in.
think that they are hoping to be earlier in November,
Okay.
just to try to stay away from holidays.
Yeah, that's
And that's for the final approval on Elmwood?
right.
Yeah.
That will be they'll have the cost, the design, everything all finalized. All right, so we can leave that for now and stick with, I think, the 1st and the 3rd of November for our regular meetings. We'll also be thick into budget. It feels like we're going to end up needing to add some meetings. I think we met every Thursday in December. Well, not during the break, the winter break, but
We did.
we can add those in once we get to September and we're figuring out what the budget schedule is and back out from when the presentations need to be, if that makes sense. Okay. In terms of, so if we're going to meet on the 15th, that would then put us the 15th, and then July 6th would be the first Thursday. Is that,
I'll be away, but I can dial in.
okay, so.
I can dial in.
You can, okay. So that would not be, and actually the 20th, Holly is away. So I don't know if we want to shift, we don't want to shift if we're meetings the 15th.
Oh, that would be lovely if Holly's going to be away on the 20th, because I really wanted to be away on the 20th.
So we should not meet on the 20th then.
I'm doing a pilgrimage home.
Oh, nice. So if,
You want to do the 13th and the 27th?
I was thinking, do we want to do the 13th and the 27th? The only thing about that is that's almost a month between our June meeting, our last June meeting, and the July meeting. Do we want to instead look to back it up to do June 29th in lieu of the 6th, and then do the 27th?
Or the 13th. You could do either.
I'm away on June 29th.
You're, okay, so we won't do June 29th.
I can dial in on the 6th. So
Okay,
you can
you sure?
leave the
All right.
6th. Yep, if you don't mind having me on a little video.
No, that's totally fine with me. So do we want to do the 6th and the 27th? Because we could be down 2 people on the 20th. Are you there July 27th? Does that work for you?
Yes, that's fine. I even wonder if in August, if we want to do 10 and 24, and the only reason I suggest that is that when you get back to the next week on 14, 15, we have admin retreat, and then that week of the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, we have new teacher orientation. So it feels like we're kind of back to work by the time you get to 10 and 24. I don't know if that doesn't work for committee members, as opposed to the 3rd and the 17th in August.
So that works fine with me. The one thing I like about that is that it then doesn't make, if we're switching to July 6th and 27th, then we have a little bit, it spreads us out a little more evenly.
Yeah.
So August will be 10 and 24.
Right.
I will sadly be dialing in on the 10th too.
Okay,
Because
so
my
that, I
exact
feel,
2 weeks
okay,
I'm
so I
dialing-
feel badly
But
that
that's okay,
that's.
because
I think we should have a large screen here that you can dial.
it's totally fine.
Yeah, but then I feel badly we're intruding on your,
It's fine. But what I would like to know is if we did want to do a half day, would that
Yes.
replace one of these days? And then would we want to do a weekend or a work day? Are all the questions that are.
Perhaps July with the 13th might be a good day, because is there going to be a lot of work that needs to be accomplished in July?
Yeah, that might be a little early, right? Because we like, if we're doing goals, we like to cascade from the district.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
so.
Right, we don't have our admin retreat until the 14th, 15th. Or
Okay.
15th.
So what about making the 24th a daytime thing? Does that work for, that gives enough time for those of us who have per diem schedules to plan around that, for me anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, or if people prefer a Saturday. Is that a
Daytime would be lovely.
weekday or,
I like the 24th.
okay. Is that
August
from the
24th?
administrative side? And
Are you too crazy at that point? Because you're.
it is
back.
getting close to.
And Jeff's like, yep.
It's a busy time of year, so one day I don't think over the other.
And it wouldn't be all day.
No.
I think we could start in the morning, maybe have lunch and wrap up after lunch. Does that?
Yeah, I prefer doing it after admin retreat for the administrators.
Well, that
Yeah.
allows us to do our goals, kind
Yes.
of keeping in mind what it is that
And by
comes
then,
out
we
of
feel
it.
like we're back to work.
Okay.
So would we keep the 17th then? Or would we?
So I thought we were doing the 10th and the 24th in August.
Okay, 10th and 24th. Okay.
But the question is, I mean, if we're going to meet longer on the 24th than what a typical meeting would be, I think we might be okay letting go of the 17th
Do you want to keep the 3rd?
of August.
If you keep the 3rd, I don't have to dial in.
All right, let's do that then. I would rather.
3 and 24.
Does that work for you guys?
That'd be fine, yeah.
Okay. And the 3rd would be in the evening, and the 24th would be during the day. Okay.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah. Ish. All right.
And from then on out, we're going to do 1 and 3, right?
Yes, so, and then for the rest, we'll do the
Quite
first and third.
possibly with budget time, a mess more.
Yeah. Budget time, or when we have things that require more emergent meetings, we could have the option of adding something in. All right, so typically we do vote on this, even though we do make changes to it periodically as we go along. So is there?
Okay, so what, did you capture all the
Okay,
edits?
I think I did capture all the edits. Let me go back to, all right, so what I have here would be, our next meeting is June 15th, that is on the calendar already. And then we would meet July 6th and 27th. And then August 3rd and August 24th. The August 3rd meeting, the August 24th meeting would be in the day. In the August 3rd would be a regular evening meeting. And then beyond that, it's the dates that Georgette has put in the packet that represent the 1st and the 3rd, not the pink dates that are.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Go
Did you
ahead.
want to just bite the bullet and add the 25th of April?
Oh, yes, we did discuss that as well,
Yes.
and add the 25th of April. Is that a friendly amendment?
That's a
Acceptable?
friendly amendment.
Okay.
I will move that as
So,
well.
a motion by Amanda and a second by Adam. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. That is great. Then we can move from that. And the next thing is the liaison roles. That they are in the packet for people to consider. I do think it's an important discussion to have all 5 of us, just because that gives us the opportunity. That in mind, I will take a look at things that are coming up on the calendar. If there's anything, any dates that aren't covered, I may just throw out a date for coverage-wise if somebody's able to pick it up that's not already scheduled to. Does that work for now? And then, go ahead.
There were some questions about when things meet and what what these committees do. What do you do as a liaison? Do you want
Yeah.
to hold that for when Holly's here?
I feel like we might have to go through it again.
Yeah,
Does that,
that's what we can hold it. I just want to make
to
sure
hold,
we have it.
yeah.
So do we need a motion to table that until the next meeting?
We do not need a motion to table that, as long as kind of by consensus, we're okay with that. The other piece I want to put off is the school committee norms and protocols, because again, the same reason, it's something that's important that we all feel that we have a document that we've either created from scratch or taken what we already have and have been able to feel like this is how we want to operate as this iteration of the school committee. And that would be, I think Holly's voice is important to include in that as well. Okay. That then brings us into the Chromebook lease.
Thank you. So next year, there is within the technology budget, budget for Chromebooks for students in grades 2 through 8. So we put this out to bid, and we did receive 2 bids back, one from American Capital and one from Tech Lease. American Capital right now is the apparent low bidder. They are also who we have current leases with, so we have experience with this vendor. So we're looking to accept the bid from American Capital.
Any questions about that for the Chromebook lease?
What does it generally cost to lease a Chromebook per student?
Well,
You probably have big numbers, though.
yeah, these are,
The students don't pay it, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I just was curious.
hold for 1 minute, please.
Thank you.
And does that typically come with the warranty repair included in whatever that figure is?
It does. So year 1, the cost is $164,500. Years 2 and 3 is $176,683. And if you wait 1 minute, I'll pull up what. And this is for 1,100 units.
And with this lease program, what happens to those units once the contract is complete?
At the end, we keep some, and I can tell you the number in a minute. 150 will stay with the district, and the remaining go back to the lesser.
Are these Chromebooks, is that so that students don't have to lug textbooks around?
These are the one-to-one that they're using all day.
They're currently very effective tools for the kids to have.
Any other questions on that before we seek a motion on that? And
I move to accept. Is that,
do we need the exact number in the motion?
Yes,
You
I
don't.
Okay, we don't.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so Susan, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the Chromebook replacement lease.
Okay, so a motion by Susan. Is there a second on that motion?
Sorry, do we have to say which of the two vendors? Is that clear enough?
I would state the
Yes.
vendor.
Yeah, I think you should.
Please.
Oh, is it under AM Capital?
American Capital.
American Capital.
Okay.
For American Capital. I move that we accept the lease for the Chromebooks from American Capital,
Okay,
who is our
so
current leaseholder.
motion by Susan. Is there a second on that?
I'll second for that.
Second by Adam. All those in
I'll get
favor?
this shit.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much for all the, I know that a lot goes into getting to this point. The next item on the agenda is item E, which is the ESBC 2 budget forms for the MSBA. Dr. Kaplan.
Sure, thank you. So what we're looking for the committee to authorize is that the E ESBC2 chair, John Graziano, would be able to sign all the regular paperwork that comes along, you know, kind of working with the MSBA, and that will include any budget revision requests.
And so just for context, that's a request came to, I think, simplify it for the ESBC2, because they're waiting then on signatures from each committee otherwise, and they're generally have to be wet signatures, right?
Yes, they do.
That has been, they have to wait for somebody to be able to go in. I think one time you had to go get the
Get some
form on it
signatures,
over the
yeah.
weekend, and so that would, John Graziano, it would not come through us to actually sign, but we would still be getting the paperwork, I would
Yes,
assume.
you would.
Yep.
Ms. Rothberg, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, and this is actually how we handled the marathon project as well.
Yeah.
That's good context as well.
And in the summer, it's so hard to get the signatures that you need, Anna, so if you're comfortable, then I'm comfortable.
Okay. So is there a motion to authorize the ESBC2 chair to sign periodic regular MSBA paperwork, including budget revision request forms on behalf of the school committee?
I will make that motion for the ESBC2 chair to be able to sign regular paperwork, which includes budget revision requests, along with the school committee chair at the appropriate milestones.
Okay. So a motion by Adam. Is there a second on that? Second by Susan. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, that's great. And that brings us down to item F, which is a listening tour for the Elmwood School replacement. And this is something that had come up as a way we've, hearing a lot of things in the community about questions and concerns people have on the Elmwood School replacement. And a listening tour would allow us the opportunity to hear from different stakeholders, to literally just to be able to listen, to hear what people's concerns are, and to start out with that piece just with our curious ears, kind of hearing what it is that people either don't understand or what it is that they would like to know more about, and concerns that people have. The kind of the context, what we did in the past, we did a listening tour 2 years ago, I guess, right? And we did Sunday evenings. We did a number of them on Sunday evenings virtually by Zoom. This is sort of jumping on that model to allow us to access more people. We had also talked about potentially going in person to the senior center. Would have to kind of coordinate dates around that. We had, Amanda and I had discussed trying to identify targeted groups of people that we would give specific invitations to, like to try to bring some town leaders together in one, but also having it open to anybody who's able to come, to look at targeting parents of new marathon parents, parents of younger children, as well as kind of looking at things like neighborhood coffees we could make ourselves available, trying to really give people in the community that need places to share their feedback, places to have the feedback. I know that John Graziano has said that he would be interested in coming to attend some, if not all of our listening sessions, to also hear for the ESBC too. In terms of setting a schedule, we had talked about trying to get moving on this sooner rather than later, just because I know that we're kind of creeping up with the project itself. And little bits and pieces come out and people hear things, but they don't watch the whole meeting because it's, people have other time commitments. We had talked, I'm going to pull up my calendar just for reference. We had talked about trying to get a regular cadence to the whole thing so that people could kind of figure out.
So this would kind of like when the town meeting came, avert a lot of controversy that could arise.
Well, it would allow us to understand what the controversies might be, and to maybe, in some cases, maybe to look at it and say, okay, people are concerned because they think that a 2, 3, 4 school at that location is going to cost much more than what other ideas they might have. But in fact, that might not be. The ESBC has been very diligent in looking at other alternatives. It might be a case of people need more information. It might be a case where, being heard helps kind of filter feedback back to the project team. They are, like I think I had said at the beginning, they are week by week coming back with different things to maintain true to what the educational model is, but also looking for efficiencies.
Yeah, I think that that listening tour is very beneficial on so many fronts. The constituency, they want that they're stakeholders.
Right.
They want to have that feeling that they're being heard and that their voice matters. So I think something like this it goes a long way to establish that.
And the thing, we found this in our last listening tour, it's not even just about helping them feel heard. They will be heard. I think they will be heard. People have concerns about taxes, some of the numbers and things are hard to understand if you haven't been following. They have ideas. Maybe they think are different ways to go about it. I would like to hear what people have in mind. We've looked at a lot. We're deep in the weeds, and we've looked at different options, and we know why we believe this to be the most affordable, believe it or not, and effective option and best for students. But we might have missed something. I'd like to hear what people have to say. So I really want to get to a bunch of different populations in the community and just hear what the ideas are. Where are the questions? What do we collectively understand? And what do we need to shed light on? And what are we missing? So I think the last time we did it was really useful. Zoom was really great because people could be at home on a Sunday night, dealing with bedtime and everything else, but also be on the call, and it enabled families to participate in particular and not have to drive anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's great because I think that we collectively as a community own this, and it's important that everybody that wants to have a voice gets heard.
Yeah.
And I think this is a wonderful opportunity to make that happen.
Do Sunday evenings, and so just to backtrack, if there are going to be 3 or more of us, we do post it as a public meeting just to comply with open meeting law. My guess was that there would be 3 or more of us who generally did want to participate, but if that's the case, I want to make sure that we have times that would be convenient for people, the most amount of people that could go. Do Sunday evenings around 7 work for people, or is there a better time that feels convenient both to the community and to your own personal schedules?
Well, for me, generally, again, with enough advance notice, I have a lot of flexibility, so Sunday evenings would work.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Sundays work.
Sundays, yeah. So, and then potentially doing a lunchtime or something at the senior center. I'm going to reach out to the senior center director. I had hoped to get to it today, but did not. To find a daytime that would be convenient at the senior center to do in person. And again, and anybody could come to any of them, but to offer some in-person opportunities, I think allows greater participation for people. In terms of, we had identified potentially doing 6. That in terms of looking at the timeline, I know that where the ESBC is, we're kind of moving forward is mid-July. The feedback that we hear, we would want to make sure that we have been able to gather and listen between, I think, now and then, which would mean we're a pretty soon start on that. Does that, I think did we say the 18th? Or did we say the 11th?
I don't remember. I have it at home, but we can,
Okay.
maybe, do you
We
want
can do
us
that
to
offline.
send you, like any thoughts on groups that we would talk to?
Yeah,
or-
so that would be helpful if people want to send thoughts on kind of the scheduling of the groups that would be important to target with not necessarily excluding any groups, but say, for example, one thing I had thought of is some of our support groups, CPAC, LPAC, groups that, the PTO groups that support the school, as well as groups that we have formal affiliations with, inviting their leadership, asking if they want to kind of reach out to their membership to target a particular date, but they can all come, any date. But so if people want to reach out, we can, and if we're going to do the 11th, we want to get the 11th one scheduled pretty quickly and send something out by listserv this week. Good.
What we had done in the past was when we agreed on like 5 or 6 of them, we had published the entire schedule so people could kind of plan. So maybe we can do scheduling offline,
Yep,
right?
just-
So
yep.
we can, once we all agree on at least 2 of us being available for whatever dates, then we can get that published. Maybe we can get it in the Independent or just release it. Yeah.
Yep, local news. Okay. That then brings us into the Hopkinton High School band donation.
So the Burke family has very generously donated a Humke trumpet, and Mr. Hay has authorized the acceptance of this, and we are looking for you to approve that as well. The estimated value of that trumpet is about $500.
I am amazed at how generous people in the community have been at making donations for band items, athletic things, many things that we have seen here. It's a happy thing to be able to accept things that are not costing us anything, but certainly items that people could have sold or done something else with that they chose to donate.
Yes.
So, any questions on the donation?
It's wonderful.
Okay. Anybody feel like they would like to make a motion on approving that?
I move that we approve the donation of the Humke trumpet from the Burke family with an estimated value of $500.
That's excellent. Motion by Susan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and that passes with many thanks to the Burke family. Right, Mr. LeBrod, you are up with the mentoring coordinator stipend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mrs. Kavanaugh. So this evening, I am requesting the committee's approval for a pair of stipends for an elementary and a secondary mentoring coordinator, 2 separate positions, funded at $2,000 apiece for a total of $4,000. This will be funded out of Federal Entitlement Grant 2A. The intention of the positions are to establish teacher leader positions amongst our teaching force that we do not currently have to support our new to Hopkinton educators, teachers, clinicians, special educators, everyone who's new to our professional teaching force each year. This would allow us to increase the capacity that we have in both our new teacher orientation program and our ongoing mentoring and induction program throughout the course of the year.
How many new faculty do you anticipate hiring this year?
It changes each year. A rough number is around 30
Okay.
that we can plan
And
on each year.
does each new teacher have his or her own mentor?
Yes,
Okay, and then
and it is a one-to-one coordination.
And then this mentor coordinator is an individual who is that their entire job is to,
No, so this would be, let's hypothetically, like I was a 4th grade teacher, so
Okay.
let's say that I, as a 4th grade teacher, apply to be the elementary mentoring coordinator. So in addition to doing my job, I would also be stipended to work in partnership with the assistant superintendent, the building principals, to make sure that mentor pairings are set and are sustainable throughout the course of the year, and that both our mentors and mentees have everything they need to make the most of the induction process.
does the mentor receive any additional monetary
Yes.
for being a mentor.
Yep. So the mentor.
That is exceedingly time consuming.
It is. So the mentors have some combination of stipends, $500, or combinations of additional personal days in compensation for that work.
That's a nice enticement.
So is this mentoring coordinator different than a mentor?
Yes. So now the mentor coordinator could also hypothetically serve as a mentor, but that person would more likely be not serving as a mentor, but they could. And this person would be serving as a coach, advisor, champion of the mentoring program, both for the mentors and the mentees. The idea being that
One level up.
on a level up, but also part of the bargaining group, so that they are able to really have a conversation and provide support. Sometimes in ways that maybe an administrator might not be able to do as close to the work.
Sure. Thank you.
And has the hands-on ability at that time to know exactly what needs to change.
And part of the thinking of having an elementary and a secondary is that sometimes the work is a little bit different, but also the
Absolutely.
proximity, both physically and practically, to what's going on, we think will just enhance it. We know from research that the induction that you provide educators either new to a district or new to the work in the first 1 to 3 years can make or break their experience.
Absolutely.
We also know that nationally, not in Hopkinton, but regionally and nationally, we are experiencing a decline in those going into the teaching force. So we need to make sure we take great care of those who are willing to take that challenge.
Sure. I know that not necessarily in the education environment, but I know in the nursing arena that I come from, there's a plethora of research around those sort of new nurse orientation programs and the retention that is the benefit of that. So I can easily see that connection between that type of program and this type of a program as well. It's an investment for the future in that retention rate.
And I will say, I think that we have done historically in Hopkinton a very good job with our mentoring and induction program, and we're just looking to take it to the next level in support of our educators so that they can support our kids.
I think that sounds wonderful.
So I think it also sounds wonderful. I all for providing the support that our educators, particularly as we're bringing new ones in, what they need. I just want to clarify for people at home, the 30-ish new educators coming in are not new positions, but
Correct.
there's people retiring and whatnot, and things
Yes.
are being filled. I don't want to read
The
tomorrow that we're
Oh, yeah, the retired 30 new
We have not
teachers.
added 30 positions.
Yes.
The vast majority of those are through attrition.
Okay. And then my other comment / question was about the Title IIA grant, which is funding these. I love when we're able to fund things with grant funding. It does not impact this year's budget, but is this something that would likely be carried into our operating budget next year, or is it the type of grant that can be recurred?
So, I've said at this table before that grant funding can never be something that we can have as a guarantee, but historically we know that the pattern has remained fairly constant for quite a while. I would anticipate it to remain constant moving ahead, and as a district we have shifted the use of our Title II programming to almost exclusively now support teacher induction and mentoring. So it would don't play back the tape in a year, but I feel confident saying that this is likely going to be able to be a Title IIA program moving ahead.
I too am 100% in support of this. I have also read the research on the importance of these programs. With the rate of growth and turnover, and how important our culture and our values are, in addition to just how you do the job. I think having a mentor and having the program well coordinated is only going to help kids. So I'm 100% in favor.
Is there some?
I move to accept the request to approve the stipends for the position of elementary mentoring coordinator and secondary mentoring coordinator in the amount of $2,000 each for a total of $4,000, and it's being funded by Title IIA.
Okay. So there's a motion. Is there a second on that?
100% second.
Okay. So motion by Susan, a second by Adam. All those in favor? Aye. And that so passes. And thank you for bringing that forward on behalf of our educators. So you are up again with the elementary summer math enrichment educators.
I'm back for more. Let's keep this going. Tonight I request the approval of the committee for a stipend to fund the position of elementary summer math enrichment educator. Oh, and I'm putting it in possible plural because it might be more than one position. What we're looking to do is continue a virtual summer math enrichment program that was born out of the pandemic in 2021, sustained in 2022, really a counterpart to traditional summer reading programs that schools and libraries have. We have, in the past, in the last 2 years that we have done this each year, had somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 students sign up to participate in this program, which was coordinated by our elementary math director, who at the time was our elementary math coach. She and I have worked together closely this year, and she has shared that the pressures and demands of coordinating the district's math program put on by her supervisor are a lot. I am her supervisor, so I appreciate that. So what we'd like to do is run this 5-week program and allow educators to jump in and be stipended to coordinate that work remotely, providing both program development but also support for students and families as they are going through and engaging in the work. It's open to all students in rising grades 1 to 6. And right now we are saying that we would stipend at $500 a grade. So if I say that I would like to do the program for rising first graders, I would get $500. Ideally, though it is not a requirement, we would do some clustering. So someone might take on grades 1, 2, and 3, and then someone might take on grades 4, 5, and 6. We leverage our existing learning management system platforms, so Seesaw and Schoology. So we would be able to make use of those platforms as well that the students are already, and the parents are already familiar with. We would fund this out of Title IV grant funding.
Can I ask you a question? Is this primarily sort of coaching independent work, or is this also actual class time?
So there is no live or synchronous direct instruction.
Okay.
So the educators would create the math opportunities. The large reason why we're stipending our existing educators is they know what they're doing as math educators already. And while it's not restricted to a special education or classroom teacher, the likelihood is that one of those individuals would be interested in that position. So they would be creating the asynchronous work. I think we're probably all tired of those phrases from a couple years ago, but they would be doing that type of thing, and then they would be offering feedback to students.
Dr. Kavanaugh, do you happen to know how the stipend amount fits in with our stipend chart that we reworked?
So we did talk about that quite a bit.
Okay.
And we think it's probably about the same number of hours if you were the chess club advisor across the entire year, say, for example, like at the middle school. So if they're meeting once a week, say, for example, for like 40, 45 minutes to an hour or whatever, this is probably about the same. So we felt like this was a good start, and then, we'll get feedback from the people who are providing the work for the kids, and then we'll have a sense of, is it good, or, does it need to go somewhere else?
It seems about right from just the work that we had done with the contract, but both sets of stipends will get added to the stipend list.
If they go into a year 2, yes. Okay.
And so in year 2, they would not be they would not be funded out of the grant?
They could still be funded out of the grant,
okay.
but they would have
Be
to be
in the
listed
contract.
in the contract.
Gotcha.
Because when they're listed in the contract, that's the only way that, teachers can have them counted to their 3 highest earning years and all of that.
Okay.
And that's the arrangement we have with the HTA, that 1-year trial, next year it's in the contract.
Thank you.
Always appreciate your deep knowledge of the stipends and the work that you did while
the
we were working on it.
stipends.
Well, you did a lot of work on that when we were working on the contract, so much appreciated. Is there I also just want, before we look for a motion, just want to say this seems like a fabulous opportunity for our students. So
I was excited when Shelley Moran, brought this to me and said she wanted to make sure it continued, and she was afraid that it might not be something that she's able to do. I mean, we're getting ready to either pilot or launch multiple programs at the elementary level in the fall. She's doing a lot of great work with our teachers and our building administrators. So I want to make sure that she can focus on that, but we can make sure that our students have this opportunity. And it's a great opportunity for, again, similar to the mentor program, for our teachers to engage in a little bit more leadership that they might not otherwise be able to.
there a motion that somebody would like to make?
Sure. I will move to approve the stipend to fund the elementary summer math enrichment educators for rising grades 1 to 4 and rising grades 5 to 6 in the amount of $500 per grade level.
Excellent. So a motion by Amanda. Is there a second on that?
I will second that.
Okay, so a second by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that approves. Thank you very much for working with, to bring that forward.
Absolutely, thank you.
We do not have any old business listed here. Are there future agenda items that people would like to make sure that we take this time if there are school committee, things within our purview that people would like to have a discussion about? That is, we do have kind of certain things that come up on a regular schedule, things like looking at grants, things like looking at the budget, end of year things, but there are periodically agenda items that people want to make sure that we get out there and put on the list.
There was a moderator who came in and helped smooth the water, I guess, between CPAC and the board. Is that correct?
So, sort of, I would say sort of, yes. I would say it wasn't so much about smoothing the water as it was about charting a path for how we're going forward. And one of the pieces that has come out of that was work on both policy and procedure related to our formal affiliation with CPAC, regular meetings that we're having, things like being invited to their end of the year thing tomorrow, things like monthly meetings that the CPAC liaison, the school committee's liaison to CPAC, sorry, you know where I'm going with that, meets with the director of student services and the CPAC leadership team to monthly kind of check in and have different topics that are pressing on any of those stakeholders at that time. So that's...
Was there a report from the person who kind of...
She was really more of a facilitator to help us to kind of figure out moving a path forward.
Written recommendations.
So it wasn't written recommendations so much as it was agreements that we all had come to at that time. So that is codified back. It would be in our minutes from that meeting. But it wasn't stuff the facilitator came up with. It was stuff that CPAC and the administration and the school committee kind of jointly talked about what we felt like would be helpful in our working relationship in the way that topics that kind of we want to make sure get addressed and how they get addressed.
Is that the Athena report?
No, this was, the Athena report is an outside consultant that worked with the middle school. Okay. This is, blanking on her name, Amy Rebecca Young. She had come and she had, we had worked with CPAC to kind of come up with an agenda, and there isn't a report that came out of, but just some agreements that we came up with. One is working on a CPAC policy that we had worked on up prior to the election, but held off on moving forward, both so that you both could be part of the conversation, but also so that we could have our director of student services here in place to work with that as well, and also the procedures. So not just what it is that the policy is, but how it's implemented.
What's the Athena report?
I'm just, are you topics?
So yes, so we're just actually coming up with topics for the future.
Yes. That's what we should make it
yes.
a topic.
I'd like to hear about
Yes.
the Athena report.
Okay, so that is,
Kind of sounds like
Last time we were here, I had it in my
Yes.
superintendent's report last week, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. But
okay,
I
so
can bring it back.
I would love to.
do you want to?
Sure.
We can loop back when there's more. There was some timeline before.
Yes,
that was when you
absolutely.
ready.
Yeah, because it did come into the district on the 9th of May, and we just introduced it really to the middle school team chair, so.
Do you want to send out a copy, or actually, it's available on the website, your report from that has
Yes,
the
yeah.
information in. So we will come back to that.
Okay. Did you just say the report's available on the website?
Not the Athena report, but the information that Dr. Kavanaugh shared in her superintendent's report is available on the district website on the same page, landing page, that our agendas and minutes are listed on.
Okay.
There's a separate piece for reports.
Sounds like such a weird thing, the Athena report. like Transformers will be involved in it shortly.
All right, so thank you.
Thank you.
Then brings us down to items by consensus, and that is you, Dr. Kavanaugh.
As superintendent, I recommend the school committee approve the items by consensus as outlined in your agenda.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, so a motion by Amanda. Is there a second on that?
I will second that.
Great. And a second by Adam. All those in favor?
Can I,
Oops, sorry, yes.
do you have any questions? Because there was a big pause, so I just.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying, there's several of the A through G.
Yeah, okay.
So I just want to make sure I looked at each one before I...
I just don't want to rush through because as you guys get acclimated, I want to make sure that there's enough time.
So, and you'll
I'm a slow
note
learner.
back up that these are warrants that have been signed to be paid out, is what that essentially, the items by consensus are items that we lump together for approval that are kind of business routine things.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we had a motion and a second, and then we're looking for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that then brings us down into adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Susan. Is there a second?
I want to stay here all night.
Let's do it. Let's make it a marathon night.
I'll say.
Do we have to go to that school then?
A second by Amanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we are adjourned at 8:11. Thank you very much to all who tuned in. Our next meeting will be on June 15th, and thank you, and great to have you guys both here.
This is fantastic. It's, I feel good things.
Good. I feel good things coming ahead for us. We are still on camera, so thank you all and have a good night.